1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi there, my name is Peter Martin, and I'm here to teach you 4 key 251 bebop lines that are immediately going to transform your playing. Now, before we dive into these 4 key bebop lines, we're going to talk about the process of improvisation. Now, there's many different ways we can learn how to improvise, but one of my favorite methods has been coined by Clark Terry. Now, the process follows these 3 steps: imitate, assimilate, and innovate. Now, I'm going to let you watch this video to see what he means.
It's no disgrace for any kid today to copy what
the
his
greats
idols
did,
yeah,
right?
what they did. And so that was one way of getting involved. Then after a certain point, you say, well, hey, wonder why, when you get to a certain, wonder why they make a right turn there. I'm going to see what happens if I make a left turn. And then you are getting into innovation.
Now, in order to be able to improvise, we first have to imitate others so we can learn the language. Now, when people refer to language in jazz, they can mean licks, phrases, lines, and it all kind of means the same thing. These are building blocks in which we can take, learn, and then change around. So the first line I want to look at is by Charlie Parker from his solo in 1942 on Cherokee. This is how it sounds. Now, something that I really like about this line is that he always has a chord tone on each downbeat. Now, when I talk about chord tones, I'm referring to the 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 of a chord. Now, this is what gives us the sound of each chord and lets us know whether we're playing D minor or G7. So, in this line right here, he always is on one of those tones. Now, the second line I want to look at today is by Wes Montgomery on his solo in Aerogen in 1960. This is how it sounds. Now, something that I really like that Wes does here is he kind of slides up to that first note. So, when we move by half steps up to a chord tone, we'll refer to that as chromaticism. So, chromaticism is just the idea that we're not really playing maybe a diatonic scale, but we're moving stepwise to whatever target note we want to get to. So the first takeaway was always landing on a chord tone. The second takeaway is that we can kind of use chromaticism to add personality. All right, up next is a line by Lewis Smith from his solo on A Pravov in 1958. Now, this is how it sounds. Now, something that I really like about this line is his use of enclosures. Now, enclosures just mean that we're going to surround one of our chord tones with other notes. So that can be diatonic, meaning we might use the D minor scale, or it can be chromatic, where we're just using the adjacent notes or the notes next to it. So using these 3 licks, I've kind of been thinking about how to create my own music. And this is kind of what I came up with. I followed the rule of using chord tones on downbeats, using chromaticism, and then also using enclosures. So this is what I came up with. Now, what I did on this line is that I made sure I had chord tones on downbeats, 3, 5, 9, 5. So when I'm using these numbers, I'm referring them to whatever harmony we're in for each measure. Now the second thing I did is I used chromaticism to get to this B, which is the 3 of G7. And if you take a step back and look what I do in that entire measure, that's an enclosure right there. Because we start above and then dip below to get to our target note. Now I want to point out this process does not happen overnight. We're going to need to keep on practicing these lines learn our scales, and also listen to music in order to improvise. Now, we have 4 lines for the key of C major, but the goal of improvisation is that we can do it in any key. And for that reason, we're going to take it through the circle of fourths. Now, the circle of fourths just means that if our target key in the beginning is C, then we're going to make our target key F major next, because that key is a fourth up, and then B flat, because that's a fourth up from F. So if we were to take one of our lines, let's say the Charlie Parker line, this is how it would sound in that circle of fourths. All right. And so you can find the exercise for this down in the description below and a link to a video that's going to have a backing track for the circle of fourths. Now, if you enjoyed the video today, please give a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care.